All right, so this topic has a trigger warning, and if you are somebody who has mental health issues, you might want to skip this video. Okay, so I was somebody who struggled with skin picking since I was a little girl, and mostly I do it in my sleep, but the cuts are so deep that it actually looks like I'm cutting. And I would tell my cousins or family members about this, and they would directly assume that that's what I was doing because that's what they were doing. And so I could never really get real help for what was happening to me because essentially, even though my entire family knew that I sleepwalk, they didn't understand skin picking. And so, right now that my shoulders have been hurting a lot because my skin is highly sensitive, I've also been skin picking. So, a lot of times, this can be misconstrued as something that it's not, like coming off of drugs or even something else, because you're picking and picking and picking, because my veins keep bursting. I don't know if you can see that vein right now, but basically right now I'm having a little bit of issues with my veins and them bursting in the back of my shoulder right now. So it really burns, so I keep catching myself skin picking where those bruises are forming. And the thing is, I do it to my face too. When, as you can see right now, my head hurts so much that you can see my blood pressure. I don't know. There we go. You can see it even in my eyes because the pain is just really unbearable right now. So my blood pressure is really high right now. And I've been doing everything to bring it down. But, essentially with migraines, this is something that happens a lot. And since I've been experiencing migraines since I was about 6 years old, this has been a consistent thing since I was little. And as a sleepwalker, a lot of what I've experienced in my life has been misjudgment based on misconceptions and perceptions that other people have based on their own experience of what they have done. So essentially, they made a mistake or they were cutters. I never said I wasn't depressed or suicidal. I said I wasn't a cutter. There's a huge difference between the two. I'm a sleepwalker, which has has led to a lot of accusations of drug use when there wasn't drug use. Also, yeah, off topic. But anyways, so when you have children that are skin pickers, and I've made a lot of those little toys that I showed you guys at my last event, and I haven't sent this to my auntie who won it, but essentially that's why I make these. So these, the shapes on the thing actually kind of feel like our skin depending on which one you choose. This is what my skin feels like when my skin is reactive, like it is right now. Like you can see all the bumpies right now. I'm having a huge like histamine response to the trauma that I'm processing right now. So essentially, I start skin picking when my skin gets like this from all the pain, because pain is traumatic. Being in pain all the time is traumatic. Like that's what it feels like to the brain. You're fucking, I think it's called like what, the amygdala or whatever, the fight, flight, whatever, it gets fired up. So pain is traumatic. Having migraines all the fucking time sucks. Look at my veins. Look at my fucking veins. And the thing is, people misconstrue this and they don't realize that I fake being okay all the time. But you guys could honestly see how much I'm suffering just based on my face if you just looked a little closer. But you choose not to. Because if you look a little closer, you would have to see the pain that you're causing with the shit that people do to me when I'm out and about. It's very distracting. I disassociate a lot because of my physical pain. I yell when I don't want to yell. I say things I don't want to say. And it's really hard to live in the world when that gets used against you to assassinate your character. Because there's not a lot people can do for these kinds of pain. And when we search for solutions outside of Western medicine, a lot of time Western medicine tries to use those solutions as the excuse for why we're not getting better, when essentially A lot of times, what they did actually made us worse, and those solutions have actually reduced our nervous system reaction. Your judgments and your biases make us steer away from searching help. It's why I say there will never be true medicine until y'all combine the two, because neither is complete. Plant and ancient medicines are incomplete without the testing of Western medicine, and also the interventions of Western medicine when the problem gets to be too big and needs to be taken out of the body. Because there's not very many shamans that still do non-invasive surgeries, even though they still exist in some parts of the world, and monks are still destroying cancer cells with their chants. It's not available to everybody, and they wouldn't be able to do it for the entire world. Essentially, we'd kill our practitioners if we relied solely on them. We have to combine Western and ancient medicines. And we also have to stop making judgments based on our perceptions, because a lot of times y'all be wrong when you're opinionating and making assumptions about what another person is doing based on what you did and why you did it. Why you did it is not the why for another person. And their rock bottom will never look like your rock bottom. And their reasons for doing something will never be your reasons, especially if you've never been chronically ill. You will never understand the suicidal ideation that comes with chronic illness, especially if you've been suffering with chronic illnesses from a young age, and especially if you've been experiencing medical neglect since then. It can be very traumatizing, and it can break a person's psyche. Stop making judgments and assumptions about things you do not comprehend or understand, and stop believing everything that one person says without taking into account that the patient always has their own experience and perceptions of why things happen to them or why things are the way they are. If you make assumptions based on the observations of people who are broken, you're only going to get biases based on their own discrimination and hatred for themselves and the mistakes that they have made, or because they've healed so much that they notice the pattern, and you're going to get that pattern recognition from a healed person. And sometimes that can still be wrong because you're still making an assumption about the why of another person. You'll never know the why. You can help a person without knowing the why, but you also have to stay curious and keep an open mind, and that's not what the majority of practitioners do, because I've worked with great ones and they have learned greatly from me just from working for me. Shout out to those doctors, physical therapists, psychiatrists, nurses, and so on that actually have been curious, and we have moved that dial forward when it comes to helping aid some of these chronic illnesses. Because essentially, I'm not one of those persons that is completely against Western medicine, but I also do not fully believe in ancient medicines, because there's a lot of biases around chronic illness and why people aren't getting better, when in fact sometimes the miracle is accepting and learning how to live with your vessel and its ever changing circumstances. I love you and have a beautiful day.